You're listening to REIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out REIARadio.com.
Once you get to the point, and if you're stuck, why are you stuck? Are you wearing too many hats in your real estate journey? Okay, and that's where I was. You're just working too much. So I found out it's like, you know what? It is much easier for me and my team to say, you know what? Here's 60 grand, here's 80 grand. You're going to raise 3 million for me. But now I don't have to really worry about it. You know, I'm on maybe a weekly Slack call or email on some updates on, you know, like, Mike, what do you think of this email campaign? Or what do you think of this? To me, that is so much worth freeing up my time so that I can concentrate on doing what I do best.
This episode is brought to you by JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions, we have trillions with a T to lend. 844 we close, or go online, jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
Welcome to REIA Radio, episode 181 with Mike Stohler.
Big Mike. Thanks for coming to the show, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. I have a question for you that I've really been wondering about since I looked at your LinkedIn profile. True or false? Top Gun Maverick is one of the best movies ever made.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
And you know why I'm asking that, right? So you were in the Navy for, how long were you in the Navy?
4 years.
4 years. And you were a commercial pilot after that.
Commercial airline pilot, yeah. The number one show is the original Top Gun.
Yeah,
that's the best.
Ted really likes the volleyball scene for some reason. But, well, we won't talk about that. It's a dark spot in his life. So 4 years in the Navy, commercial pilot. What is that like, living the life of a commercial pilot? Is it really cool at first and then it gets old after a while? Or talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, being up in the air, it's very different when you're flying a little Cessna than all the automations of an airline. I can't wait to get in the air. The sun rises, sun sets at 34,000 feet is just absolutely wonderful. But all the airlines, it's just another corporate job. Dealing with, the chief pilots and the airlines saying, we have to make money. So you have to go here. It's like we're flying into Denver in a blizzard. And they're like going, you have to go. And I'm like, we're never going to get there. And so you start arguing, but we have 150 people, you've got to go. And I said, we're going to circle and then land in Albuquerque. And then you're going to figure out, so you're arguing. So the corporate politics and things like that is like, gosh, dang it. But there's nothing like taking off and landing and the whistling through the air, at high altitude.
Being a podcast show host also, isn't it great when you walk in and all the production's all set up already and you just go and slap some headphones on and roll? I would think that'd be awesome to do if you were a pilot. You just walk in like you're the boss and be like, what's up, peeps? And then you go over and everything's all ready. You don't have to do a pre-flight check, all the maintenance stuff already taken care of, but you have to do that, right? Like that's got to be
yeah, because number one is I don't trust anyone else to do it but myself.
Mm.
I'm
same here.
Yeah. So it's like, no, I'm doing the pre-check. I'm doing the checklist.
One of my closest friends, he's been 24 years now in the Army, and he's a medevac pilot. And in the last couple of years, he's finally got into the commercial, and so he's been pretty excited. And now he's getting into big planes. I think he's doing like the 747s and whatnot.
Oh.
And but he's just like on cloud nine. He's like every time he gets somewhere new, because he's just been he just officially got done with all the training the last year. And he's always hit me up. He's like, got to go here. I'm in Alaska. I'm in New Mexico. I'm here. And he's like, he just says the best job he's ever had in his life.
I would think though probably the biggest bummer is you can't have a bottle of Eagle Rare rolling around with you in the cockpit. I wouldn't think
unless you work for Southwest.
Maybe in the 70s.
70s.
Have a cigarette. Fire up the bourbon.
Flight attendant on your lap.
Oh man!
Did you hear that just happened with Southwest this last week though?
What? Which part?
No, the pilot came on drunk.
Oh yeah. I did hear about that.
But you know what? The alcohol limit, I don't like that part. If you have a shot of NyQuil or Dayquil in the morning, you're over the limit as an airline pilot.
0.04, right?
It's no, I think it's 02. I think it's 02 or 03, if I remember.
That's what they just said on the news.
Was it 04? Okay. Well, maybe that's what he blew is 04.
You can't trust the news.
But so here's the thing is like, you know what? I would rather a pilot have a couple drinks at night, because there's sometimes you land the airplane and then you have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's like, I need a drink, because the weather that we flew in. What people don't realize is it's the lack of sleep that is the most dangerous. Yeah. There's times that I don't know what time zone I'm in, and you may be on Pacific one time, Eastern, and then up in Canada, then the Caribbean or Mexico, and your circadian rhythm is just, and you're just like going, I have no idea where I'm at, what I'm doing. You're just so tired, and that's a lot worse to me than a couple drinks.
Yeah. How long do you do that for?
12 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got injured pretty bad in a tropical storm that was going to turn into a hurricane landing in Houston. And that ended my career. But it was the best thing I'd ever did, because then I fired all my property managers and concentrated on real estate.
Oh, okay. So, all right, let's get into that. You obviously are a real estate investor, since we're a real estate investing podcast.
Some people wouldn't even know that.
I know. Yeah. But not how we start out usually. But it sounds like you were buying stuff while you were working for the airline, correct?
I started before that.
Okay.
I call it the PG days, the pre-Google days. And small town Indiana, and went to that seminar, read that book, and I bought 10 units, man. I mean, I even used my credit card. I'm like, I'm buying. Then I was like going, how the hell do you be a landlord?
Oh yeah, so you just literally jumped out without a parachute, right?
I did, and then it's like, holy crap, and then after that, and we'll get into that, the failed miserably segment. Then I took.
We call it failing forward, but failed miserably.
Yeah, well, okay.
We'll spitball it.
I fell forward on my face. It wasn't
literally.
But then I said, screw it to real estate. And then that's when I became a pilot. It's like, I always want to be an airline pilot.
Okay. So you jumped in with both feet, bought 10, said, no way, got out, pilot for
failed. A while. We had to move into my parents' or my in-laws' house. I mean, the fail was we lost our house. We lost everything because I was making, nothing, and didn't do any due diligence, new roofs, plumbing, everything was on credit cards. I was getting credit cards to pay for repairs. There was no help. By that time, you're going through the yellow pages, please help me in my real estate career. There's no section for that in the yellow pages.
I bought this house in 2005. It was my very first purchase. And it was going to be a flip, and it was big old Victorian 5-bed, like 2-bath, monster house built in 1890 or something like that. Terrible vibe. And I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be really cool. It's got these columns and some neat features and whatever. And I went there every day after my W-2. So I would take my suit and tie off, have a gym bag full of my grubby paint clothes, and I'd go over there and work till like 9 or 10 at night, like every night. That experience was painful, but I would say I did learn a lot. Along the way, I had a friend of mine that was helping me out. He was just kind of moonlighting as he'd take side jobs because he worked for a guy that was a contractor. And I would pay him with those like Capital One. They used to send you those checks that were tied to your credit card account.
Yep.
And I didn't have the funds to pay him with cash, like out of a checking account. So I would advance off of a credit card like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And finally got to the point where he's like, I didn't know this. And he's like, hey man, is there any way you can pay me like differently? And I'm like, yeah, like what's wrong? Cause I like pay him whenever he needs it. I was just paying him fast. And he's like, my bank is putting like a 10 business day hold on these things to make sure they're good. I'm like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. Like, I'm sorry. I won't do that anymore. But yeah, good time. Hey man, you tried it, and sounds like you're back into the fray again. So what happened after you got grounded, or you grounded yourself?
From the airlines.
What? But wait, how did you get injured?
Yeah, interesting story. There's everyone's been in a holding pattern, right? Really bad weather, lightning, 60 mile an hour winds, 65 mile an hour winds. We're in a holding pattern. We're at the bottom of the cake, and this is how it works. ATC says, you know what? It's still really shitty, but there's no lightning. You want to give it a shot. That's how it works in airline language. You know, like going, yeah, because I didn't want to divert somewhere. So we go in the muck and just immediately just a crap beat out of us. And I'm on final approach, getting ready to land. I'm at 1,200 feet, still in IFR, all the clouds. And the tower or the ATC says, winds are, I think it was like 65 knots coming out of the left. Contact the tower, this frequency. So I contact the tower, and they told me that the winds on the ground were 60 knots coming from the opposite way.
Oh, man.
So if you know anything about airplanes, they fly, it's a weather vane. So you're flying like this, and at some point it's going to snap when the wind changes.
Yeah.
Well, it snapped so violently that the autopilot just went, dude, no clue what happened. You do it. All the bells, whistles were going off, and lost the air in the pitot tubes. And what happened is I grabbed it so hard, brought it back, and the co-pilot was calling out all the stuff. And then at 600 feet, I'm white knuckling, and then at 600 feet off the ground, it tried to snap again really hard, and it actually tore the forearm muscle off the bone. In my right arm, it snapped so hard.
Oh my God.
And I was getting ready to go around. I brought it back down. I was getting ready to go around, and he called what's called lights in sight. That means he sees the runway lights. And I was like going, F it, here comes the Navy carrier landing. And I just slammed it onto the ground. And that was my last flight.
Wow.
And is that now is that repairable? Is everything good with that now? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I was expecting you to tell me you had some like turbulence and you like hit the ceiling.
Oh, that was turbulence. That was,
but I wasn't expecting that. I'm glad I asked that.
It's called wind shear.
Dang. Okay, top that now story. We're on to some boring stuff in real estate. You have such an interesting, varied background. I mean, your LinkedIn
ADD, I guess, huh?
Yeah, it looks like there was 8 people that have pieced together a LinkedIn profile with their different backgrounds. You have software, or you were a computer programmer, airline pilot, Navy, real estate investor, like racing. There's something with racing on here.
Oh, that was a website.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Ted's eyes perked up on that because
I'm from Indianapolis, so I've been to like 32 Indy 500s, 33 of them. So I grew up with it.
Last question on that: are you a golfer?
Oh yeah.
Have you played the Brickyard?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I played that. I have 3 good friends that live in Indianapolis, so I fly there every summer, and we go up to like Kokomo, kind of up north, and play some courses up there. So. Yeah, fun stuff. Maybe I'll add you to our invite list. But you're in Phoenix now.
I'm in Scottsdale. Yeah, so it's home of golf.
And I'll be there in 4 weeks golfing. Actually, why did you move to Phoenix other than the beautiful winter weather there?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in the day, I was going through some flight training, and Indiana, as you know, is kind of like where you guys are at. It's like, well, I could never get the time. It's too cloudy. The weather's bad. So I came out. I had a choice, Florida or Arizona. My wife's mother lived in Tucson. So I was like, you know what? I'll spend the 6 or 8 weeks, whatever it was, do some training out here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, honey, there's like palm trees, and it's February and it's like 70 degrees. It's like, you need to come out here. And then I was like, you know what? Can you transfer with your job? And it's like, I kind of like this place.
Yeah.
And so that was it was like, I did some training out here and basically never left.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So we're stuck by kids.
Yeah. So I don't have any kids. I am the kid in my household.
Nice. Changes
so
everything.
Ted.
It changes everything.
Okay. So talk to us about you bought the 10 units and didn't go well. When and how did you dive back into in the real estate investing world?
Yeah. So, lost everything, did not file for bankruptcy, which was good. I just was able to just give back stuff. And then we paid off the credit cards over time with, what was it back then? 30% interest. But while I was flying, I was like, my wife at the time made really good money. So I was like, what am I going to do? And I just, in the back of my head, I was like, real estate is it. I just know it's it. So what I did is I learned, I pretended to go to apartment complexes to be a tenant, and then I stole all their forms.
That's great.
And that, that's how I did. I was like, I don't even know what kind of forms to use. But so what I did is we eventually decided, it's like, you know what? There's Google now. There's some courses I can take. I can learn. I know that this is the way to do it. We've got to get back into real estate.
You're still holding your 10 units at this point?
Oh no, I gave them.
Those were sold. Got it.
Gave back. That wasn't sold. Gave back. Yeah. I didn't even know how to even sell them. It's like, how stupid I was. I gave them back instead of even trying to sell them. I was just like, when you sit there like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Take it. I don't want to see him another day. So as an airline pilot, I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a single unit and then buy a 4 unit. I'm just going to use my extra money to get back into it. Hired a property management group. And that's how I got back into it. And then during my injury, at that time, I used all my money. At that time, I had, 50, 75 units. I just bought. Again, it's like I didn't learn from the first time. It's like, just buy. But at least I had a property management group. And then...
Were those mainly single families or multifamilies at that point?
The largest was like an 8-plex, 7 or 8-plex. So, a lot of single 4-plexes and like 8-plexes. And then when I got injured, I realized it's like, this is why they're not making any money, because the property management group is nickel and diming me to death.
Mm-hmm.
So really the best thing that ever happened to me was getting injured, because I fired the property management group and took over those. And that was the end of the story.
Interesting. Actually, I want to dig into this if you don't mind. When you're starting to grow, when you have a portfolio and you decide you're going to outsource to a third-party property manager, what are some warning signs that it's being mismanaged? Is there anything that brought that to your attention? Or maybe we could, dig into that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What I found was they were doing 3 and 6 month leases.
Oh. Okay.
Because they got an application fee and they got these fees for every time they lease.
So shady.
It's so shady.
Release fees.
Fees, and then cleaning fees where they made money. And so there's all these fees tacked on. And I was like, because I was sitting there, it's like, why don't I have anyone that has 12-month leases?
Yeah.
And then every time they go out to the property, they charge me. I started getting trip charges. And I also noticed that they didn't care about the cost of the repair. They weren't negotiating any prices. They would just send
any vendor that'll answer the phone.
And I'm like going, why is it costing this? Why is it costing me $1,000 to repair this piece of plumbing? And they don't care.
Or a $300 set of cheap $10 blinds to be replaced. I had that one recently.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you'll get an upcharge on the dispatch. Like I've had a property management company that had a dispatch fee, so they'd upcharge that 10%. And I'll be like, look, call this vendor. I've used them before, and then I'll ship it to them. And then I started getting bills where the bill didn't match up to what I paid. And sometimes it could be like a sewer line or something like that, where it's a big ticket item, like, $4,000 or something like that. And then you get a tack on of $400. I'm like, you're charging me $400 to pick up the phone and make a call of somebody that I gave you the number for that is expecting your call. Like, what the hell? And then, the trip charges, gas charge. Like, here's my favorite. Property management companies will send a guy out, like maybe they have a handyman or whatever, right? He'll go out to a multifamily property and change light bulbs. Guess what your fees associated with? Electrician level fees, right? You'll get $85 or $100 an hour for changing a freaking light bulbs. And then maybe they change all the furnace filters. And this is just a handyman, right? Unlicensed handyman. And you'll get HVAC contractor, $65 an hour. And then it's like they're fixing trim, and then you get like $50 an hour or whatever. You're like, it's the same freaking guy. I saw him do all those things. You know what I mean? So I had to fire a couple of them for exactly that reason.
Yeah.
But you have to, like, just because your phone isn't ringing doesn't mean they're doing a good job, right? They're running interference. That's part of the job, but it's also, they need to be fiscally responsible for your asset and your well-being as the owner, because just like we're talking about, you're going to get fired. It's like you can, I've used this analogy last week. I think you can shear a sheep many times. You can only skin them once. And sounds like that. I mean, that happens to a lot of property management companies. They just get greedy with all the fees, and what you think you're signing up for is actually way different when you add it all up. So.
And then you also have to look at, ladies and gentlemen, if you fire them, what's the fee?
Oh, yeah.
They actually charge a fee for you to fire them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, man. I think we just need a support group for where we can just tell all of our.
That's why I got into hotels, man. It's like, you know what? I am going to either be in prison for killing either a tenant or property management group.
Oh, that's funny.
So, but most people think of the hotels as its own cartel.
Yeah, we have. This is funny. Right before you came on, Ted and I, we had a guy that Ted knows pretty well, and he's Sanjay Patel, and
no.
Patel, really?
No, he's not Patel.
What's his last name?
Sanjay Patchell.
Oh,
but his best friend's a Patel.
But he brought up this. It was like USA Today or something had a story. I think it was in the 80s where they called it the Hotel Patel Cartel. And it was all about how, these Indian nationals would, a lot of, Indian families would buy hotels, and they're dominating the really that asset class.
My nickname is the White Patel.
I like it. But the funny part is, so we did this really great interview with him. It was probably, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours long. I mean, just really
back then it was probably over 2 hours.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
We were probably drunk by the end, but
we were.
And then we lost the recording. Like, we didn't ever get an airing. So we've been talking about getting him for round 2, but
he said he'd come in March. I just talked to him the other day.
That sucked. So okay, all right, little sound bite here, and fill in the blanks. 1,300 multifamily units at one point that you either owned or managed or both. Is that right?
All units.
All units. So that was not just multifamily, that was everything you owned. Is that what you're saying? Wow, man. So were you just going out buying so it sounds like you had a lot of smaller multis is how you kind of got started, and then transition into buying larger properties, I would assume, because otherwise it'd take you forever to buy 1,300 units. Yep. How did you approach that? Were you methodical or did you just hammer the gas and you were like in acquisition mode buying like crazy?
Yeah. The big growth happened in 08, 9, 10, 11, 12 during the, I don't even what you call it, recession, depression.
Yeah.
Everyone was depressed but me.
You're on a buying spree.
And what I did was a lot of seller financing at the time.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I was buying, 100 units. I was just buying a lot because what happened, ladies and gentlemen, what happened during that time period is, and some of these properties were absolutely fantastic, 100% occupied, but they're commercial loans. And ladies and gentlemen, in multifamily and in hotels, commercial, you have balloon payments or you have just 5-year, 7-year, 10-year loans. Those are all coming due. They were buying them at the height of the market in 05, 06, 07, and then all of a sudden their 5-year balloon hit and it was the reappraisal, and now they're upside down several $100,000.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, we can't do it. And they said, well, you have to do it or else we're going to take over the property. Well, I would come in and say, you know what? You have to make up X amount of dollars. I'm going to do seller financing. I'll pay that difference, and then it'll be a 3-year seller financing, because when all this is over, I'll be able to get a bank, because a lot of the banks wouldn't even give new ones. So the only way to do it was seller financing. So I did that a lot. So, I had my own stress in 5 years from that point. It's like, okay, I got to get a bunch of bank loans, but
you put a deadline out there on your own. Now, okay, if you don't mind, so are you talking about, did they do some sort of a wrap mortgage on that, or did you formally assume it, or did you take it over subject to, or how did that work?
It was more of a subject to.
Okay.
They kept the loan. Kept the loan. I paid them what the bank needed, because the bank said, hey, we're only evaluating this for this amount. If it's $1 million property and they're saying, hey, it's only worth 800. And that owner didn't have 200 because he spent everything. So I'd go in and here's 200 that the bank needs, and I'm just doing a subject to.
Mm-hmm. And then you took a second position seller carryback on the balance. And then is that how that works?
I would pay him the mortgage plus a percentage.
Okay. Gotcha.
He was the modern day Pace Morby. He was doing Pace Morby before Pace Morby was doing
Pace Morby on steroids, and who's also in your market. I understand. I don't know if you know who Pace Morby is. He's in the Phoenix market.
Mike, you could have been doing this before and making all that money he was making from that.
But again, here I am. I'm not.
So I love this because you were making like really complicated moves, and I'm sure downplaying your knowledge level at the time, obviously, but this is fascinating. I mean, you acquired 1,300 units. And most of it was via subject to or seller financing or a combination of the two. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to build up that war chest of apartments?
6 years.
6 years. Dang. Yeah. Man. Were you scrambling?
Not using any of my money except for like some down payment stuff.
That is amazing. Yeah. Okay, so 6 years. I would assume after you started taking down these large deals, like 100+ unit complexes, did you have to really scramble to get operations tightened up? Like, because I mean, it's really hard when you're growing super fast to make sure, it's like trying to fly a plane without doing all the pre-checks. Yeah. How much of a struggle was that to keep the ship, steered correctly?
It was, and thank God I wasn't doing any other job, because a lot of them I'd have to go there almost daily, because they're C complexes. And what I learned is I focused on, number one thing is getting someone who lived at one of those complexes that I could trust to be kind of like my eyes and ears on all the complexes.
And what kickback would you give them for that service?
Either free rent or half rent and just a small hourly. Yeah, a lot of them were free rent, but some of them were like half rent depending on what it was. Find a maintenance guy that lived on site. And then when I was trying to rent them, I'd find that mother hen.
Yeah, Gladys Kravitz.
Yeah, exactly. And say, hey, find me people that you trust, that you want as a neighbor. And so I just kind of went outside of the box and did those things. And then I finally got it to the point where I had the on-site managers. I had people that I could trust, and it was a lot easier a couple years into it.
What made you decide to pivot into hotel investing instead of only focusing on multifamily? Someone
offering me a bucket load of money.
Oh, okay. Can you elaborate on that?
So I can't remember if it's Iowa or Idaho, but I had this group off market say, hey, I want to buy this portfolio from you. And I'm like, nope. It has taken me so long. I can now play golf. I am now kind of making good money. I'm not selling because it's just like, I don't want to restart.
Yeah, they're like buying your baby.
Yeah, like one that was like a 50-pound baby. It came out of my, that's how, they ended up 4 times, and I think it was Idaho, because here's the thing is they had a lot of money. They met me at like IHOP, wanted to come down and meet me at IHOP. And I'm like, I don't care. It's like, really just IHOP. Classy place. So they were probably, these extremely rich farmers from Idaho or something like that.
I want some mahogany steak or something.
You're like, so are we eating waffles? The four Seasons? And they're like, we were thinking IHOP.
IHOP. What's Four Seasons? So I met him at IHOP and I said, look, you can come down and look at these things. You're not going to say anything to the management, and I'll meet you at IHOP. It's just like, I'll take free breakfast. Okay. And then they gave me a price, and I'm like, oh, holy God bless America. Small town Indiana boy just made it,
Yeah.
And I couldn't say no. You have to understand that I was buying all of these at 9 and 10 caps, back in that day. Mm-hmm. And 8 years ago or so, they're at 4 cap, 4.5, because at that point we had a lot of Canadians coming down to Arizona, the Californians, everyone was just buying things.
Now, were your assets all in the Arizona market?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the Sun Belt region is highly targeted for acquisition. It seems like everybody wants to buy assets in those
Southwest.
Locations. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone was coming in because Arizona is one of the top tourist destinations. The influx of people moving in. So, and here's the thing is like from California, if you're used to a 2 cap and you come to Arizona, it's like 3.5, and they just started buying. So finally I was like, man, I'm going to be someone else's, Cinderella, if I put all my money into, so I didn't do it. And ladies and gentlemen, it's all about networking, right? It's all about people that, no matter how successful you are, you still have mentors, you still have coaches, you still have networks. And I was talking to this guy And he was in hotels. And I'm like, I didn't know that like people could buy hotels. I thought there were these big REITs, I was just, no one even thinks about hotels. And I made him an offer that he couldn't refuse. I was like, you know what? I could actually get away and not see a single tenant for the rest of my life. I'm like going, I kind of like this hotel thing. And what is that? They actually give you the credit card up front. I was like, that's even better. So I talked to this guy, Indian, of course. It's not Patel though. He's a Singh, real good friend of mine. And that's how I got started. I was like, what kind of asset class could I shift into where it's a better asset class as far as, we're still buying now hotels at 8 to 10 caps.
Yeah. So, okay. I do have to ask though. So they came along and bought your whole portfolio that you spent 6 years slaving away, acquiring, figuring out operations, hiring people, dealing with all the drama. And then you're out. Right? What did that feel like? And then did you have to pay a monster tax bill?
I did all. No, I rolled them all in. I rolled it all in. Yeah, in the hotels.
Oh man, that so the timing worked out great with that. With your
yeah, because what I did is I made this guy an offer he couldn't refuse. Because ladies and gentlemen, if you get into another asset class, don't just jump into it. You'll fail. Like I did. I kind of learned.
The successful investor is telling us not to do what he did.
I don't have that YouTube channel. It's like make $1 million in 7 days. I've never failed in my life, and they're barely out of high school. These kids,
influencers.
They watch one HGTV episode and they know it all.
Yep, like our producer here.
But what I did is, was kind of interesting. I'm always trying to think out of the box. So what I did is I want you to find me hotels. I need several. I need you to show me everything you know and teach me everything you know about hotels. And I want you to run them because I don't know what I'm doing and I trust you. You have 25 years experience. I want you to actually operate them. And what I'll do is I'll give you a piece of the profits. I'll make you a general partner.
Okay. So that's interesting. So you kind of, you basically bought out a lot of their equity. So they're flush with cash. They can still get some benefit out of operating the hotel in addition to, I would assume, a fee for doing so, right? So they have ownership. They make active income from payroll, basically, and then they're doing the operations and you don't have to mess with, I have to hire new cleaners. I have to, do all the ins and outs of staying at a hotel, right? That's really interesting too.
Yeah. What I learned is, and I do this still today, is if I hire someone that I really need them to do a good job, I'll give them profit sharing. I want to give them a reason to do a good job for me.
Yeah. So kind of the carrot versus the stick approach.
Yeah. I could pay them a salary and they could be that old property management group.
Yeah.
I don't know. But if I give them, it's like I'll give you a property management fee, which is due, but I'll give you X percent every month we do distributions or X percent of the profits, or when we sell, you get X percent of the sale. And so now they're motivated.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned hotels that you can still acquire in like the 9-10 cap range. So basically, you're going to get a 10% return, cash on cash, on money that you put into a deal. Is that still realistic in the industry, or does that take a lot of work to source, deal flow and look at a bunch of them before you?
Well, it's a great question. I've flipped my understanding of what and how and where I buy. COVID changed everything, right, in the hotel industry. So I change. You can still do 8 and 10 caps all day long. They may need some work, but I have focused my attention on my next 2 projects. One's going to be a ground up new build. It's called a soft brand. It's going to be a high end soft brand Hilton. And then we're actually moving offshore into Europe. And cool. We're doing high end, very high end boutiques. We're buying 1,000-year-old castles, 1,000-year-old estates, and you can get those for a lot. I mean, guys, the amount of, I should say, the amount of money that is necessary and needed to buy something outside of Barcelona, Spain, is absolutely phenomenal. So the syndications that I have open now, The main one that's going to close probably at the end of April is on a 1,000-year-old estate outside of Barcelona. That is one of the top 25 hotels in all of Spain, small hotels.
Wow.
And if you can believe it, so what happened on this one, if I can share the story a little bit.
Sure, please.
In 2019, this hotel did 1.3 million gross. Okay. I should say the boutique. COVID hit, and it was the current owner bought the place maybe 12 years ago. He got married there, so it was kind of a passionate thing. He got married at this old estate. It came up for sale, and he's like, oh my God, I'm going to buy this place. He spent 4 years renovating it, getting it going. COVID hit, and he's in his mid-70s. So he just didn't have the energy, and his daughter was like going, Dad, just let's sell it. Well, he never really reopened it that much after COVID, but there was enough of these destination travel agencies that begged him. It's like, please, there's just still so much interest in this place. Mm-hmm. Would you still mind doing like destination wedding things, corporate events? And he was like, sure. And so now he's zero advertising, and he's making about $100,000 per wedding for a 5-day, and he's doing that 3-4 times a year, and he's making $500,000 a year, not doing anything.
Dang,
it's off market, and guys, it's 11 rooms. We've been approved through the National Forest to build 5 more like villas, casitas. Mm-hmm. I'm buying this place for $2 million.
Dang,
it made 1.3. So I'm like going, why am I buying hotels in the United States where people don't want to work? It cost me $250,000 a key to build in the United States.
Yeah.
So we're concentrating over there. And the plan is to have this website, stay in our old places throughout Europe. You have the drop-down boxes, Spain, Italy, Portugal, and we're ramping up. We're looking at buying probably 3 or 4 this year.
It'd be kind of cool. You could create your own tour with travel agencies. Hey, check out all of our facilities, get a special rate to travel between the two, set up the travel.
And you dust off your pilot's license, and then you can personally chauffeur them over there for a ridiculous upcharge.
Yeah. I'll have you buy the Gulfstream for me.
Okay.
But the great thing is, and even with our investors, every time they go to Europe, if they have a good CPA, it's tax deductible, right?
Nice. I like all of this.
Mike,
let's make a trip over there and check this out, Ted.
Do that. Mike, how many boxes do you have right now then?
After we sold them, we only have 5 right now.
Okay. I have like I said, there's a good friend of mine that's a hotel investor local. I think he's got about 20 or 25 right now in the Midwest.
Yeah. I sold. I buy and sell too much.
At what point though, and how big do you got to be to really like concept your own flag or your own brand name for your hotels? I mean, it is so expensive to get that Hilton name or in Marriott name, so on and so on, right? There's requirements you have to have. Is there ever
it's an ongoing cost, to do those.
Is there ever a point where you just create your own brand? Like, are you ever big enough to do that? And then,
if you did independent, I would never want my own franchise. Okay. It's like I have this small town hardware store that's competing with Lowe's. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
If you're in Europe, you have your own brand. Okay. We have our own website, because if you go to Barcelona, if you go to Spain, you don't want to stay at a Marriott or Hilton. You want to stay at a 1,000-year-old castle, if it's the same price. If you're everyday Americans and a business traveler, you own franchises. And depending on where they are, so what we do is we say, okay, if it's in a smaller town outside of a major metro center off of a highway, what goes there? A Marriott or Hilton doesn't go there. It's a Quality Inn or a Comfort Inn, something where you just get the free internet, free breakfast, and you go. But we do in the United States, unless you're in like Sedona or the Red Rocks or this kind of this boutique destination place, then you can have your own brand to do an independent. If you're in Minneapolis, Scottsdale, Phoenix, you need to do a franchise, because you have these travelers and everyone wants those reward points. Okay.
I didn't even think about that. That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a Ford and Chevy. It's like, look, anywhere we go, we stay at a Marriott. And if I'm a business traveler and I'm a road warrior, I'm building up the points because I want to, when I go on vacation with the family, I do free vacation. I get the free rooms. So it is, those franchises are extremely important. I've actually switched franchises. I've bought a hotel, switched the franchise because of the rewards members.
Huh. I bet, Owen, I bet you're thinking right now, why did I buy that hotel in Branson, Missouri and make it into an apartment building and take all those tenants on?
Oh, I don't know, man. That place was rough. That built in the 80s, and that's the thing. It's like you kind of age out of the flag, right? Because
you can.
What is it 20 years? Is that the right number for?
Well, there's 20-year contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what happens is, so you have what's called a PIP, and that's the kind of the property improvement plan. And sometimes they're absolute BS. It's like, our Gen 4, blah, 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 you need blue couches instead of red. It's going to cost me $80,000. It's like going, I'll just, stupid stuff. But then you get to a point, depending on how many keys that hotel is, that it gets too expensive to keep like a Fairfield Inn or like a Marriott or a Hilton. You grow out of it. You can't afford to keep doing what they require. So you switch it to certain franchises where they're a lot more lenient.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So yeah, you have these huge CapEx events, right? That happen when they require you, and you obviously know way more about this than I do, but they require you every so many years to do like a refresh and then like a full, kind of like a full not rebrand, but just like you said, dump a whole bunch of money into different colors. If they have a change to their logo or something like that, it's on you, right? So you have this looming CapEx, question mark hanging over your head and have to plan for it. And that really cuts into your profitability and your spendable money that you have that you can operate with, right?
Yeah. And it's not one big nut at a time. They'll say in year 4 through 7, there's this gradual thing. So you have to do these, some furniture, these case goods, or this look. And it's like and one time they made us redo the signage. It was the most stupid thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It was the Quality Inns. And if you know the green Q, and it was kind of a squiggly line, okay? They decided that they're going to make it a straight line.
Okay. And then you're like, great, now I have to buy a $30,000 sign or whatever they cost.
And hire the big crane at the top, all of our stationery, every single thing. And I was yelling at them. We're like, you know what? I'll tell you what, if one guest can come in at any time and say, oh, I noticed that it's a straight line instead of a squiggly line. I said, I'll buy it. I'll do all that sort of stuff. So sometimes it gets really, really stupid like that.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you have to understand that, especially the higher end brands, the Marriotts, the Hiltons, there needs to be a refresh because people use and abuse the case goods. But they do it in like a several year period. They'll just say all this needs to be done in 7 years. Okay, so what we do is just like anything with new roofs and things like that, we just put in reserves and just know that it's going to happen.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. On the topic of guests not taking care of the place, do you have some crazy stories to share? You got to have some wild stuff that's happened since you've been doing this for a while. What anything come to mind where it was a situation that was brought to your attention where they're like, you might want to look into this?
Oh, man. Okay. So one of the things during COVID, everybody and their brother got free money, right?
Yep.
Including the homeless. They all got the credit cards, prepaid credit cards. So they're going off the street and in their hotel rooms. Well, you think they'd be gracious, but they continued they just trashed. It's like they're stealing the TVs. They're stealing. They were throwing all of our mini bottles off the balcony doors, for all the other homeless people.
All their friends.
The friends and the shampoos and the conditioners. But, so I'm like, aren't you grateful that you're not on the street? But there's this one couple that they found each other somehow, and he wanted to impress her. They're both staying in a hotel, one of our hotel rooms, and he bought her a pig.
I was not expecting that.
Okay. One of those little pot-belly pigs.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know. They snuck it in. Well, they got into a fight.
Did they put it like a baby carrier?
I don't know. I have no idea.
You pulled
I have no idea, but they got into a fight. He left, and then she left. And then a couple hours later, the guy calls the front desk, and he goes, "My girlfriend says she doesn't have a pig. There might be one still in your room." The front desk calls the our GM, and he goes, "What?" He goes, there might be a pig in the room somewhere. So my GM, I wish I had a video. He's like, "I can't believe this." And he goes tiptoeing in the room, and he's like, "Here, piggy, 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 piggy." He's like, he's looking around under the bed. He's like, "I can't find this pig." And then he lifts up the pillow, and it had gotten inside between the pillowcase and the pillow and was just sleeping there. And well, he goes and shakes out the pillow, and out comes a squealing pig. He about knocks over the side table, screams, runs out of the room. And he goes, "There is a pig in the room." It's like, "What do I do?" And he's calling me, "What do I do?" And I'm like, going, "Catch the effing pig." He's like, "I don't want to touch it. It might bite me." And I'm like going, "Oh my God, there's a pig in the room." And he goes, "What do I do if I catch it?" And I'm like going, "I don't know. Call the animal control, humane society. I don't know." But that was one of the crazy stories of a pig in a room.
Oh my God, that is classic. And then, hey, but fresh bacon the next day, right? For
you know what? It's like at least it'd be like a Cornish hen, right? It was a little baby.
I'm kidding. I love animals. Kind of. Wow, potbelly pig in a room.
Potbelly pig in the room.
Wow, this sounds like a lot of excitement in this business. So I'm curious. Let's talk about you mentioned syndication. So it sounded like you started your original acquisition, your slew of acquisitions through seller financing and capitalizing on a good price with the friend that you had, Mr. Singh. What happened to make you consider raising capital, and how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, great question. And basically, it was the growth, getting into more and more money. And then what you do is you limit the ability of the banks wanting to give you money if it's just you. And as we started getting into certain economic situations, down payments got higher, and I wanted to get into some bigger hotels. So I decided, it's like, you know what? Why am I using just my money? I couldn't get any more of this, like the seller financing. That's still around. I just looked at a place in Taos, New Mexico, with seller financing. But I was like, I think it's easier if I just do a syndication.
What was that like? How did you start? Maybe if we could kind of dig into that for people that, because we have all experience levels that listen to this podcast, but there's some that have been owner operators. They've, kind of eaten what they've killed. And kind of like you did when you first started, I did when I first started. I was just a lone wolf, and I used my own money and refied when I needed more capital, and sold some stuff when I need more capital, and then eventually you run out when you start doing bigger deals, and it's like you're either stalled or you have to make moves and sell stuff that you don't want to sell, or refi things that don't really make all that much sense. But what maybe if you could talk about that.
Yeah. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what would happen is I'd have to sell a hotel in order to buy another hotel. So, and then, or sell two and buy one, so that's how my numbers go up and down all the time. It's not like a multi where you sit there and say, you know what, I'm just going to refi, take money out. Because the evaluations of hotels, it's a long-term sale. It's a long-term buildup. It's not, you can't slap paint on a pig of a multifamily and raise rents and things like that. It's just, it doesn't work that way.
Paint on the
pig. Because we still have, no matter what I do to a hotel, I still have to keep within the comp set, the competitors. Because it's like, hey, I just put $3 million in this hotel. I'm going to charge $200 a night. And right next door is the same type of hotel, and they're $85 or $100 a night. So it's not like, it's different. So what I decided to do, and made a mistake, I learned with my syndications. There's two types of syndications, one where you have accredited investors, one where there's non-accredited. And I like using just accredited investors because they don't need the money 2 months after they invest with you. And I like sophisticated people that have already invested. So what I did was I put a hotel under contract. It's going to close in 5 months. And the close portion of hotels is a lot longer. The cycle is a lot longer.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Well, there's just a lot more. You have 30 vendors. There's just a lot more due diligence, payrolls. And you also have to go through an application process with the franchise.
Yeah.
Which could take long, because.
And you may not get approved, right?
And you may not get approved.
Deal.
Right. Yeah. Like, for instance, unless you have a lot of experience, Hilton and Marriott won't even look at you.
Mm.
So it's a lot longer process. So what happened is I didn't start the syndication process until I put the hotel under contract.
Okay. Do you think that was a good move?
That was not a good move, because then I had 4 months to raise $2.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, everybody, invest with me. And then you have all these soft commitments. And what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is people that promise you.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
I'm good for it. Yeah, I want to invest. Here's $100,000. And then, all of a sudden I'm 30 days out and I'm like going, dude, where's the money? Dude, where's the money? Hey, where's that money? And you're like begging and pleading. It's like going, I need the money now. And then you have extensions. So that was a very stressful time period. So what you want to be able to do is build yourself up in your private equity group or whatever type of company you have, to where you say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm buying another hotel. It's in this type of hotel in this type of location. Give me money. And they do it. And I don't have that hotel yet, because now I can raise the money. The Spain one it was a little bit different. All of a sudden I just came across this thing. It was like, holy shit, let's raise money. Let's open it up now and, put the LOI out there. But with hotels, I'd like to have raise the money, and then they trust me now that this is what the type that I'm going to have, kind of the area.
With the 5 hotels that you have currently, do you have like a certain buy box criteria? Are you looking for like a full service hotel that has restaurant, convention center, or do you steer away from that?
Yeah, all of the ones that we have now, I've steered away. Upper mid scale. And it's the no convention center, no restaurant. F&B is just different. The ones that do the best are extended stays and these limited service type hotels.
Like truck drivers kind of outside the metro area.
Yeah. The ones that did best, like during COVID, the ones that did absolutely fantastic actually were ones right off of the interstate, and they were cheap, free internet, just that limited service where the truck drivers, because here's the thing, what did not stop during COVID was trucking.
Yeah, it was critical. Right?
Critical.
And what they call that is essential
services. And the ones that we had that were in the business parks, went from 85% average occupancy down to about 8 or 9% during COVID. So we learned a lot. One of the biggest factors that I learned is where to buy hotels. Mm-hmm. I will never buy another hotel in a state where the state government can determine whether or not I can operate or not.
Now, I'm curious, this property in Spain you mentioned was off market. Is that an anomaly for you, or do you typically look and source, potential deals off market?
Yeah. You get to the point where it's off market. Yeah.
Okay. Now, next question on that. Is there a process that you follow in order to get those type of leads or relationships, or is it kind of a slow burn with, you get to know them because you're in the same business? All the hotel owners know each other in a certain area. Is it a combination of that? Or
it's a lot like in multifamily. If you're known in an area that you have money, and there's a broker that says, Mike, he sends out the email. Because here's the thing is that I've learned, everyone probably knows LoopNet. Mm-hmm. Great place. But if it's on LoopNet, that means guys like me don't want it.
Yeah. It's already been cycled through all your client lists before you put it on there.
LoopNet's the last place that deals go to die. That's what it seems like.
I don't want to say that, because, but here's the thing is I will flag some LoopNet properties and see how long they've been on, and then I try to get creative.
Okay. Yeah. So that's smart. And sometimes they fall off, right? So they'll delist something and then
and I'll track.
Keep your eye on it. Yeah. That's smart. I've done the same thing with like multifamily assets.
But Barcelona, I have a team in Barcelona. Most of the people have heard of BlackRock. Mm-hmm. They own half the world, right? A third of the world. I can't believe this, but there's a person on my team that's full-time in Barcelona. He did 35 of their projects in Spain.
Oh, wow.
He retired. So he has that type of knowledge. Mm-hmm. And again, I have him as a profit-sharing partner, and he's doing all the due diligence, all the things. He's sending me emails weekly on this Spain project, but I have him and my original partner on all the hotel deals, Mr. Singh. He's in Barcelona 6 months out of the year.
Well, yeah, that's handy.
So it's really handy, that you have them, and they're the ones that kind of beg me. It's like, you got to come over to Spain. I'm like, I'm not that socialist, blah, 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 all this thing. I got over there and was like, holy, yeah, okay. Because here's the thing is, no one in Spain will ever buy something like that. It's very, very rare, because the Spanish people in Spain, they're not brought up to be entrepreneurs, that spirit. They're used to just being happy as is.
Siestas.
Yeah, they want their siesta. They want just enough money to be happy. They don't strive to really be anything better, because if they're better, they get taxed more. So they do a lot of things outside investments in Spain, especially and there's, just like in the United States, there's only certain sections in Spain that I'll invest in.
This is maybe a little bit into the weeds, and my mind just went to, since you're now going to be operating essentially an international asset, how does the taxation work? If you're based in the U.S., you own, a company, or basically, or a business over there. What does that mean for you as an American?
Yeah, that's a great question, because most of the investors that we have so far, that's exactly what they ask. So all the madness of all of that is on the GPs, is on me. So it's a Spanish LLC that I had to create that will own that asset. I had to get their tax ID number and all this thing. I had to set up a bank account over there and all this stuff. But that Spanish LLC is owned by a Delaware LLC in the United States.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. That LLC is where the pool of investors are.
Okay.
Yep, so gotcha. They're in America.
Mm-hmm.
The people have two choices. Now, there's a Spanish-American tax treaty, so nothing is ever taxed twice.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Okay? So that's really good. The only difference is that the Spanish bank account is paying in euros to the American bank account. And the only difference, if I give you, let's say, $100,000, you may have an exchange rate.
Yes.
Okay, issue. But I have some investors that want to set up a Spanish bank account and say, look, we take European vacations. I don't need American distributions. I'll tell you what, it's really, really cool that every time we go to Europe, I'll just withdraw from that account.
Yeah, you can go to the ATM and withdraw euros. Right?
Euros,
without having to worry about exchange rate and going to the pain of going somewhere to figure out all that, the exchange rate and so forth.
Well, we would have to figure that out, because what would happen is the exchange rate would be from the Spanish bank account to the American bank account. The conversion would happen during that first transition. Mm-hmm. The distribution. So if I'm giving out $100,000 in distributions, it goes to the American bank account. That might be $96,700.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's kind of like a fee involved with the exchange rate, and that affects your percentage in your distribution.
Yeah, I mean, based on what you said, it sounds like the yield is going to make up for any additional cost of doing business overseas, just based on the fact that you can just crush it with NOI. Hey, one quick thing I just thought of, if you're just doing back of the napkin math, I always use, like, if I'm just real quick and dirty analysis, if I'm looking at a rent roll for let's say it's a smaller multifamily property, I'll usually use, okay, will this thing pencil at 50% operating expenses? It's kind of a rough, quick and dirty way to do it. Since your time in owning hotels, is there like a range, or kind of like where it usually falls from an operating expense perspective? I would assume it's a lot more than probably operating multifamily. Is that fair? Because you have all the turnover and cleaning and staff and all that stuff. What does that look like?
Yeah, well, first off, the gross is a lot higher for multifamily hotels. Okay, if you have 100 keys to 100 keys, the 100 key hotel is going to gross a lot more. The reason being is that you have $1,000 a month, let's just say $1,000 a month rent for one unit for 12 months. I have $200 a night every night for 80%. If you do 80% occupancy on both.
Is 80% kind of the threshold that you want to hit with regard to being occupied? Okay.
Average.
Yep.
Hotels in Arizona, and there's a lot of times we're 100% occupancy now, because this is when everyone's coming. I don't know why people don't want to come to Arizona when it's 120 degrees. I just don't understand it. But
well, we're in Nebraska. Negative 30 wind chill on Sunday.
Yeah, so it doesn't. It's a dry heat.
Hey, but right now it is warmer here than it is in Arizona, according to Mike.
Oh yeah. It's a snapshot in time on Friday, January 7th.
Where I'm at in northern Arizona.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
I'm way up north in the mountains.
I got it.
You don't see this in Scottsdale.
Yeah, for those of you not watching on our YouTube channel, Mike has this beautiful, really big, cabin, a log cabin. It looks like from here with a gigantic. Was that an elk?
That's an elk.
Yeah.
And
did you shoot that?
There's the bear.
Did those come from your hotels?
No, they came from one of my bullets.
Do you have any potbelly pig mounted anywhere around there?
Oh, man. You know what? I should get one just to put in my office. I need a potbelly pig in my office. I'm going to do that. I'm going to find a stuffed potbelly pig.
Be good at the storytelling.
Oh, my God. I'll never forget that for the rest of my life.
Oh, man. That's so good. Mike, what does it look like when you're going out and raising capital in a hotel deal? How do you do it? What have you found in your experience since you've been syndicating has been the best source of potential leads of people that are interested in investing in your deals?
Yeah, great question. And it really depends on, there's different type of investors out there. There are ones that want to work on, they only care about cash flow. So they're the ones that say, Mike, I want a Motel 6 here. They want that type of a deal because they're cash cows. You have some that are like, I don't care about cash flow. I think it's cool just to own a hotel. Okay, I have enough money. I don't really need distributions. Here's $200,000-$300,000. Make it last, more than double my money in 7 to 10 years. You have that type of investor. In Spain, I'm finding out it's a lifestyle type of investor. Now, the people that want the box franchises in the United States, a lot of times I'm finding out it maybe is not the Spanish hotel investor. Spanish hotel investor, these are people that they travel. It's like, oh my God, this is a fairy tale, something out of the movies. And they want cash flow, but they want to sit there. Hey, Mike, can I actually go? Nobody in the United States is, Mike, can I come and stay at the Quality Inn? I'm like, well, if you're in town, and you have to, I'll give you a discount. But everyone says, do I get to go to this Spanish hotel? And I'm like, well, how much money are you going to give me? So there's the different types of investor. And then when I raise the money, depending how big it is, for instance, I'm getting ready to open up a syndication for a ground up new build in Scottsdale. I can't talk about it yet too much, but it's going to be maybe a $30 million or more project. Rooftop bar, high-end Hilton. That's going to be an institutional. I'm already in talks with family offices. So that's a different type of investor on something like that. We deal more with institutional investors because here's the thing: to raise, and I want to raise 50%, 40 to 50%, because I'm trying to be conservative and I just don't want the debt. I don't want 1,000 investors and raise 15 million or so. So I look at family offices, people that, their third vacation home costs 15 million. Those type of guys.
Like Owen here. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Then if it's more kind of a complicated syndication, or I don't have a lot of time, there are companies out there, ladies and gentlemen, that will find the investors for you, and it might cost you $50,000, $60,000 to hire these things because they're doing all the ad work, all the marketing, all the digital stuff, everything. And they're blasting it out to all these different channels. They have the influencer networks. They have all these things. But if I have this, like, my God, I got to raise this kind of money in a short period of time, you can hire those type of companies and they'll create it all for you and they'll find you the investors.
I'm glad you brought that up. I think was this like 2-3 weeks ago? I brought up.
I don't think we talked about it online. I think it was just a personal conversation.
So I just started kind of going down this route. I have a hard money lending business, and we've got a roughly about $24-25 million in our capital stack that we continuously lend out to. A portfolio of loans, and we give our investors 8 to 10%. Some of them choose to compound it; they don't want the monthly distributions.
Right.
So we were looking to double this year, and the problem is there's 4 owners. We just hired a director of operations. We've got somebody that does a lot of our loan processing and that kind of thing. But we're pretty small, and we're all busy. It's like we're involved in multiple projects, multiple things. It's like we're not all only focused on this. We have all these businesses and stuff. So you have maybe 5-6 hours a week where you can devote time to things, and you got to pick your poison, right?
Yeah.
And so I started really doubling down on LinkedIn, and I started networking a lot just with other people that are in private equity, wealth management, those kind of spaces. And I happened to connect with this dude, and we had kind of a discovery call with him. And his whole pitch was, basically they're a retained hired gun to raise capital for you. Essentially, my understanding of how this all works is they would have a 2%, they call it a success fee. So you tell them what your target capital raise is going to be. So in our case, it'd be, say, 25 million. They would have that as their bogey. And then they have this supposedly already developed network of family offices, private equity, institutional money, wealthy individuals, tech, people, et cetera, et cetera. So they have a monthly retainer that they'll charge you. So in this case, this outfit was 10 grand a month. So you basically say, okay, we're going to pay you 10 grand a month, and you are going to dedicate, time to raising capital. And then at the end, they're going to have 2% of the total capital pile that they basically raised for you. So in this case, let's say it's 25 million bucks. They're going to take 500K out of your money, along with if you had hired them for a year, let's say it took them to do it, it cost us 120 for that. So 620,000 to raise 25 million. But then, you have to just do the math on it and say, okay, is this worth it? Like, is the spread that we can maintain, even though we have to eat that upfront cost? You're way more advanced in this, obviously, it sounds like, than I am, because I just started dabbling in it. But I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I thought it was so regulated within real estate that wasn't even possible. But this is you're talking financial markets with this.
Yeah. So there's two types of people, two types of companies. What you're dealing with, they have to be like broker dealers.
Yep.
Okay.
They have to have certain licensures to be able to conduct
because you're giving them commissions.
Yes.
Okay. That's one type of company, the type that you're dealing with. The one I like to deal with, and you can do that if you want to pay the percentages, and they have that. The company that I was talking about, they don't get any commission. I pay them, here's $30,000 up front, and then I pay them for ad spend or for whatever spend. And they're more of a real estate syndication marketing company that has international and United States contacts that they'll blast out to 100,000 people or more. And then they also do the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that sort of stuff, but you just pay a flat fee and then a monthly fee for maybe $10,000 a month in advertising spend, or $5,000 a month, whatever you want to do. But it's just a flat fee. There's no commission.
I would love to at some point take this offline with you too, and just kind of maybe ask you some questions if that's cool about it. But I want to say, listeners, you should really pay attention to this part, because a lot of people are stuck and they're not able to take that next step. Maybe they own 40, 50, 60 units, but they can't put it together to raise enough money, or put their own money into scaling into buying large assets like 100-unit complexes, hotels, stuff like that, different assets, castles in Spain. But I think really dial into this. This is a really good conversation about capital raising that a lot of people aren't aware of. At least I don't think they are, because I wasn't. I've been doing this for 20 years. So I love that, man. This is, it's kind of like the hired gun approach, right? Because you could hire somebody on your team, like if you wanted to just employ a person, W-2, and say your job is to raise capital. That is your job, and I'm going to pay you X, and I'm going to, you're on payroll and so forth. But you're on the hook for their livelihood, right? This is like that's their job,
plus taxes, plus employment, plus Social Security, plus benefits.
Yeah, and so there's no end to that unless you have some type of a contract that has that. But like to your point, there's regulations about who can and cannot raise money, and I don't know the ins and outs. I always do disclaimers on this, so I don't know the exact wording of the laws. But my understanding is I couldn't go out and raise money for Mike and get a commission for the amount of money I raised if I have none of those licenses. You can get in big trouble for that, fines, whatever else.
Both of us would.
Yeah. But if you had somebody on your staff doing that, they're employed by you. That's their job. That's a one way around that. But then like we're talking about, they're employed. In this case, what we're talking about is you're just basically saying, hey, I want you to go do this. I'm going to pay you this. And when you're done, I'm done paying you. I'm no longer obligated to have this relationship.
It's a contractor. It's a contractor. Yeah. And that's what it is. It's one and done. And what they want to do is raise that amount for me so that the next Spanish hotel or the next whatever, I do the same. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, is once you get to the point, and if you're stuck, why are you stuck? Are you wearing too many hats in your real estate journey? Okay. And that's where I was. All of a sudden I'm like going, I'm spending 7 days a week telling people, to quit yelling at your person down next to you through your bathroom drain that you're going to kill them. You're just working too much. So I found out it's like, you know what? If I don't have people already in the background saying, Mike, here's $100,000, whatever X for that next deal. And I do have those for certain types of projects. It is much easier for me and my team to say, you know what, here's 60 grand, here's 80 grand. You're going to raise 3 million for me. We get that back in expenses anyway, right? Because it's not like it's just gone, that money. Those are expenses that's within the company. But now I don't have to really worry about it. I'm on maybe a weekly Slack call or email on some updates on, like, Mike, what do you think of this email campaign? Or what do you think of this? To me, that is so much worth freeing up my time so that I can concentrate on doing what I do best.
That's great. Now, one more little tangent I want to explore here is you did a good job kind of outlining the profile types of investors and what they look for, right? Mm-hmm. So you said you have some people that just want a quality in, they like the cash flow. You have others that just want a piece of the dream and it's a cool property and they just want to say they own a piece of it. Some people just want to stay in fancy hotels. But how did you start those conversations in the first place to find those investors? Is this a lot of lunches and coffees? Rotary president, I noticed on your LinkedIn profile. I'm assuming there's some people with big checkbooks that go to that.
Maybe family offices.
Yeah, podcasting.
So that's true. Is that just a combination of your experience, your relationships that you had, and it's kind of developed over time, or did you have to kind of like say, "Oh man, I'm kind of tapped out with my network, and I need to start playing a lot of golf with rich people"?
Well, actually, that's kind of what I did, is play golf with a lot of rich people.
I caught one of your podcasts.
Oh, did you?
I am cheating a little bit here.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, he knows me really well. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, so what it is, there's only so many friends and family.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what do? I was lucky enough to join a country club, had the money. And people looked at you, it's like, okay, he's not old enough to be retired. So it's kind of like, hey, what do you do? And this is where the business coaches and the mentors, how do you respond to that question?
Yeah, your elevator pitch.
The elevator pitch. Oh, I do this. Oh, I bob up, whatever it is, what you're doing. I diversify portfolios, blah, 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 out of the market, whatever you want to do. And then you shut up. 3 or 4 holes later, they'll ask you another question. And then you just kind of say, hey, you know what? Let me buy you a beer at the 19th hole.
Yeah.
And then you start learning some people on how to do that pitch and how to do that thing. And you're like, oh, you know what? I've invested in some multifamily. Is that what you do? Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm already in multifamily. It's like, no, I do hotels. And then they're like, what do you mean hotels? What, then all of a sudden it's like, then the questions come, So you learn those types of things. So that's how I kind of got started with the syndication things, is people that I golf with, networking events. I'd be the only hotel person in the entire networking event, right? And what I found out is people said that hotels are sexier. No one says, I own a 50 unit or I own 100, 5% of a 100-unit multifamily in downtown Chicago, or wherever, or I own a hotel. It's sexier, so it's an easier sell. So that's how I started, and then as you grow, you become guests on podcasts. Mm-hmm. How many of your listeners may just Google my website and check out, so I at least want to see a picture of this Spanish hotel.
I do too. Yeah. I mean, I would very much like to see that. It sounds really cool.
Or a video. There's a drone video that will just blow your mind.
Well, if you have that, we'll link it in the show notes. Ted's really good at that. And we'll give the listeners a chance to check out this sexy Spaniard villa that you got over there. Love it.
There you go.
No, I appreciate you breaking that down, because I think there's a disconnect when people think about raising money. They think that's for people that are like, oh, I'll never be to that level. And it's like, no, you really can. You just have to put in the work to get in front of the right people and approach it the right way. I like your approach in that you give them enough information that they're curious, and then you gauge their reaction to what you're saying, and that'll tell you how the conversation should be taken, right? You don't want
Dave Ramsey stuff.
Yeah. So you don't want to come on and just give them a huge sales pitch, because that's a huge turnoff. You're like, bro, I'm trying to putt here. I don't want to I don't need to know about your NOI.
It's all about listening.
Yeah.
They'll tell you
I really
what
like
they
that.
want.
I really like that.
Between the being on the podcast, having your own podcast, the Rotary group, and the golf courses, what has been the best ROI, return on investment, out of all of these different avenues that you've gone to try to raise capital?
Great question. Being on a Big Pockets podcast,
Bigger Pockets,
Pockets got me a lot of interest.
That was your wife, right?
Well, it was my wife, yeah. But it was our group.
Did she tell you have a face for radio? Is that why she was on there, not you?
Yeah, because they're like, oh, nobody wants this.
Me and Ted are both in that same camp.
Nobody wants this. They say, Mike, you have the voice.
Well, there's a reason our YouTube following isn't nearly as much as our Spotify and all the other Apple platforms.
Golfing has got me a lot of money.
I love it.
Here's the thing is, and I'm a member of 2 country clubs now. Golfing is, depending on where you golf, whoever you're paired with has money most of the time. And then Rotary is, family office. I was president of the largest, I was president last year. It's a 1-year term. The largest, oldest Rotary group in the Phoenix area. It's called the Phoenix Rotary 100. It's the 100th Rotary club ever in existence. And there's 50,000 of them right now.
Dang.
And it's the downtown, the McCains. It's just like the who's who in Phoenix. We're members or honorary members. The Goldwaters, it is just kind of the big names. And what I did is every time I got in Rotary, I'd volunteer to speak or introduce or just do all these types of things, because they would always say, Mike Stohler's managing partner of Gateway Private Equity Group, blah, blah, blah. And people would sit there and it's like, what is that? Yeah, let me tell you, then you just start it all over again. But ladies and gentlemen, you can always start out with like JVs. Okay. If you don't know syndication, because here's the thing. And if you do your first syndication, make it smaller, 4-plex or 6-plex, something like that. Because here's the thing is, if you don't have experience or a lot of experience, it's going to be a tougher sell if you're raising a lot of money.
So stick with an asset that you're comfortable and accustomed to, and you have a proof of concept, you can operate it. And then if you don't have the capital or just don't want to use your own capital, you raise that and you can say, hey, you want to do it again? Once you show that you have continued success with it. I really like that. These are great. These are great tips for raising money. It
kind of reminds me when we had John Hoyt on, local success story, thousands of units, and he contributed a lot of his success to his Rotary Club, where he's like, where he said, I think he's been a member for 40 years, and he said he's never missed one meeting in those 40 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's a big Rotary guy. Well, this is all amazing content and new stuff. I've learned a ton. I've got a bunch of notes here. So this has been, hopefully listeners are getting something out of this too, and I'm sure they are. But I know you talked about in the beginning of the podcast, we were going over kind of what your painful 10-unit experiment. Do you have anything else maybe that we could work into our segment called Failing Forward?
And this Failing Forward is brought to you by Timber Creek Virtual.
At Timber Creek Virtual, we don't just keep your business running, we take it to the next level. Our virtual and executive assistants handle all the everyday tasks so you can focus on what really matters, growing your business. Need clarity on your financial performance? Our expert bookkeeping services keep everything organized so you always know where your business stands. With our seamless transaction coordination, you never have to worry about the details. Just close the deal. We've got you covered with cutting-edge digital marketing, proactive lead generation, and expert acquisition management. Plus, we handle the cold calling and messaging too. Let us handle the big C work so you can handle your business. Visit timbercreekvirtual.com/services and see how we can make your business soar.
Where something happened that didn't go according to plan, lessons learned along the way, all that fun stuff?
Yeah. Don't be in a hurry to buy anything. just something, you need to make that step to buy something, because I'd speak at seminars and I'd speak at things. I see the same people. Have you bought anything? Oh no, one more seminar and I'm ready to buy.
Yeah.
It's analysis by paralysis. But you have the opposite, which is me sometimes early on, like when I lost the 10, is I jump in. I have no problem buying. It's just sometimes I buy the wrong things. Mm-hmm. And what I found out is my first, I bought a 28 unit and I was like, man, seller financing. It was during my seller financing phase. And what I learned really quick is there is such thing as something lower than a C class. And I didn't know that. I was like, I didn't even know classes. This is an apartment complex. I want to grow. So I walk onto this place, brand new owner. I'm like, man, I have 28 units. And this guy comes over to me and he goes, who are you? And I said, well, I'm a new owner. He goes, no. I'm the owner of this complex and I need you to know that. See those 2 Cadillacs over there? Those are mine. I control this property. And I'm like going, oh, what did I just get myself into? And I'm looking around and there's like needles on the ground and they're like, I'm looking at the people and they're just sitting on the front stoops drinking. Yep. I'm like, okay. So I was still an airline pilot at the time. And I was what was called an FFD. I was actually a federal officer. I carried a gun in the cockpit. Mm-hmm. So I was actually part of Homeland Security. I was a federal, had the whole badge and everything like that. So the next time I went there and I had this Homeland Security shirt on, big 45 strapped to the side of my waist. And I come over to him and he starts approaching me and he looks at the thing and he goes, what is that? And I said, well, I didn't tell you that the new owner of this place is a federal officer for Homeland Security. His eyes got about this big because I'm not telling you he was from a country south of here.
Okay. Yep.
And I won't get into politics or details or anything like that. But that was me falling forward. And guess what? I can't believe it. A week later, he was gone with his 2 Cadillacs. But the long story short is I had to evict 20 of the 28 people.
Wow. Like how fast did you get them out?
Oh, well, it took some time because some of them just saw my shirt and left. Luckily, in Arizona, they're pro landlord, so it didn't take very long. But then I'm like, holy crap. Okay, I have 8 tenants, and this is a C minus, 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 minus. So that was me kind of falling forward. Is like, I think maybe I should pay attention to what I'm buying and do some more due diligence.
Well, that's a good tip. I always heard before I kind of made the leap into multifamily, I was, studying and talking to people and just like analysis paralysis about it. But one tip that kind of stuck with me was whenever you're considering whether you should buy an asset or not, if it's in a little bit rougher area, especially drive by in the daytime and see how many cars are in the parking lot. And if the parking lot's full, that usually means there's a lot of people that aren't working and they're probably drinking or sitting on the not probably. A lot of times that's the case. You have people that are unemployed and they're just killing time and, they're doing drugs or worse. And if you have an empty parking lot, usually that's a good sign there's a gainfully employed tenant population there. So that one stuck with me over the years.
And that's good. That's a really good thing. And then you can drive by at night to see what kind of parties are going on.
Yeah.
I mean, the outside of it's like, are they all sitting on the hoods of their cars with fifths? So both of those are good.
As long as it's Eagle Rare, you should be okay.
If it's Eagle Rare, I'll buy the complex.
Oh man, that's good. Well, that's a good tip. Sorry that happened, but it sounds like it was a good lesson learned right along the way. So
I wouldn't give up any of those lessons learned.
Yeah, amen.
COVID was one of the best things that ever happened to me in the hotel industry, even though it was a huge struggle and a challenge. Because when you're living fat on the hog, you get lazy, you get complacent. But when you go down to 8% occupancy and the things that I had to do outside in the brain to fill it taught me 150%. I'm a much better hotelier due to COVID than I would be.
Yeah, I bet. You definitely earned some scar tissue and earned your stripes going through that gauntlet. I can't imagine being involved in that industry. That would have been so uncertain and you just have no idea what kind of regulations are going to come down. Like you just have no control over your own business.
California actually saved me. I don't think I've ever said that in my entire life.
I've never heard anyone say that.
No one's ever said that, but if you can believe it, they even banned outdoor sports.
Yeah.
And so we contacted travel agencies. And if you can believe this, we had travel teams. They were 4 miles apart in San Diego. They'd actually go to Arizona just to play soccer. And we'd, give them discounts at the hotel. But it's like these people would travel 6 hours just to play soccer because they weren't even allowed to do an outdoor sport.
Oh, yeah. That would suck.
So I'm like going, thank you.
Yeah. Good lesson.
Yeah, I remember during COVID, I had a couple Airbnbs during that time frame, and I was like, I got blessed with some people came in from overseas. I was like,
yeah,
and they're like, yeah, we can't get a place to stay, but we'll rent your Airbnb for, I remember it was for $2,000 a month or $2,500 a month, and for like 6 months. And I mean, there was some challenges there, but it really saved my ass.
Well, Ted also bought the local REIA here in 2020. So like
April
of 2020, he buys the local REIA. Hey, good news, new sheriff in town. This is going to be awesome. And then like 4 people have to show up. I'm kidding. You did it. Ted has done a great job turning that around.
Well, first off, great content. Thank you so much for this. I know our listeners are sitting there taking notes. I have a whole page of notes, as Owen does also. But we do have a section that we famously call the OT with Owen and Ted. Is it really famously called?
Yeah, it's famous.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Especially when you say it together like that.
Well, we're in sync like that. But we do have a handful of questions that we ask pretty much every guest. Sometimes we mix it up. But Owen's got the first question here for you.
What will the title or topic, or both, of your first book be?
Yep. And, I get every week someone wanting to write my book. I get those now. And I've actually thought about it, and I think that I haven't found a book on this topic, and I may actually write it. What is the difference between multifamily and hotels investing?
Yep.
Something along that line. What does it take to go from multifamily to hotels? It would be something like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in print anywhere, because there's always that age-old, and I actually had that's funny you bring that up, because I had this topic that we're going to cover in a different segment. I thought it'd be fun to kind of do the debate of single family versus multifamily, but I've never heard, I guess they don't really throw out multifamily versus hotels, but that'd be interesting. You should do that.
The difference is, ladies and gentlemen, is I don't want any of you people that are listening to say, I'm going to go buy a hotel. Don't do it.
Okay. Well, Ted can do your voiceover on the book.
Yeah, right. If you could interview anyone in the world today on your podcast, Rich or Geek, who would it be, and what topic would? I mean, it doesn't have to be real estate. So, but I know you have a podcast called Rich or Geek. But you can interview anyone in the world today. Period. What's the one question you want to ask, and who is it? Even more now. It would probably be, and you probably get this a lot. It would probably be like Elon Musk.
Yep, he's probably our number one.
He's probably your number one, and especially now, it's like.
And I think Donald Trump comes in number 2, probably.
Yep. Well, Donald Trump, because he gets 4 hours of sleep, and it's like, okay, he's doing all this sort of stuff, and now he wants to do even more. It's like I'd love the thought processes, because that these billionaires that are so successful. The end game of it's like. I love the fact that business people are in government, because, like, if you're successful in business, it makes sense that you might be successful in government. Maybe not, but just some of those questions, it's just like, what are you seeing? What's your thought process is in even accepting this role in the Trump administration?
Did you hear Elon Musk has a lawsuit that just got brought to him by the government for
yes, SEC
about the Twitter thing?
Yeah, they said he bought it for $140 million under value, and so there's a lawsuit going into that Biden just put in this week.
Okay.
hey, he's got to do something to stick it.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, man.
But here's the thing. He's already forgotten that he did it.
That's funny. I can either confirm or deny. All right. So, Mike, it's the end of the road. You've got your Spanish hotel up and running. You've got multiple assets in Europe. You have put the bow on the whole syndication model that you've got for your hotel empire. And we're at your funeral. And somebody's going to be walking up to the podium to talk about Mike. Who is it, and what do you think they're going to say?
It's going to be Donald Trump.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be perfect. It's just going to be so fabulous. And he's going to say, yes, Mike is a mini Trump. And he's no, I'm just kidding. It's man, it's a hard question, and if it is my wife, and to say, yeah, he left me with a lot of money, and thank you, and I can get my 20-year-old boyfriend now and sail across the world.
That's good. All right, we'll go with that.
I got me speechless on that one. Which mentor in your life has had the biggest impact in you, and how they influenced your career or personal growth?
I'm going to do two really quick. Of course, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's what got me started. And I'm lucky enough, he lives here in Arizona. I've been to some parties and I've actually met him and talked to him and had some really good conversations with Robert Kiyosaki. And just the continual, pat on the back and that he's actually said it. He's proud of me. And I'm like, oh my God, Robert Kiyosaki's saying that. But more recent, there's a guy, his name's John Burley. He taught me how to first use someone else's money and then how to handle the conversations, how to zip it, just the conversation piece. Mm-hmm. And his big thing is lease to own. That's his niche. He's got a couple thousand homes.
I know that name.
Well, he's big. I mean, he helped co-write Trump's book, the real estate book. But John Burley he's one of the big. He's the one that got real. If you guys don't know this, Kiyosaki, how did he actually make his money? He gave money to John Burley. John Burley had owned the homes, so they were kind of intertwined.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
But look up John Burley, and he's just been a mentor now. He actually has a house in this neighborhood where I'm at now, and we just have the cigars and sit and just chat. Still,
That's great.
How's it going? How's the life going? And I'm able to still say, hey, what do you think about this? Because he's 40 some years into this, 45 years. But he's not only been a mentor, a coach, but also a great friend.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so last question I have for you is, what's the best way for people that want to find out more about Big Mike and what your exploits are, and over the seas and domestically here?
Yeah. Once in a while, I'll do an individual podcast on the Richer Geek and talk about hotels. You can get a hold of me on my website, which is www.gateway, E as in Papa Echo, or privateequity.com, depending if you're a pilot or not. LinkedIn, Mike Stohler. I have a YouTube channel, Mike.Stohler, all over the place. And then on the website, if you want to learn more about it's called Hotel Cancuch, Cancuch. There's a link upper right-hand corner where it'll take you to a portal where there's 40 or 50 pictures, the drone video, all that good stuff. And on YouTube, I have some videos of me at this property, doing some videos of it.
Who's the biggest name you've had on your podcast?
Biggest name that I've had. You guys know Jake and Gino?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They've been on the podcast. Hunter Thompson
from Raise Masters.
Yep. And I've spoken at his conference in California.
Yeah, we could get him on. He'd be a really good one about capital raising. No, that's great.
He's really good. But those two are some of maybe the two ones that real estate people would know.
Awesome. Well, Mike, I really appreciate you taking an hour and 45 minutes of your time out of your day for us. I told you it could either be like 30, 45 minutes or it could be 2 to 3 hours. You never know, right?
Yeah. Well, we finished almost the.
Nice.
So we're good.
Next time we have you on, or vice versa, we'll make sure we have an old fashioned in hand. So make sure we don't record in January then. But if you're coming through Omaha, please let us know, or maybe we can cross paths at a Bigger Pockets conference or various other conferences that we go to.
Yep.
And I'd love to catch up with you. But again, thank you for the time today. If you listen to this the first time or the 181st time, please leave us a 5-star review on whatever format that you choose to listen to. And if you can, just give us a share to somebody you think would love to hear Mike's story, hear about real estate syndications, hotels, and everything else that he's done, including the multifamilies. It's a phenomenal story. And with that, Owen Dashner, will you see us out?
On behalf of REIA Radio, Aiden Bear, and Ted Kosh, I'm Owen Dashner, and you've been listening to Mike. We source our continental breakfast bacon on site. Stohler, signing off.
This episode is also brought to you by PropStream and Magic Door.
Are you guys going to be drinking in front of me though?
No, not today. We're dry January. So
okay.
We're making
Go get a drink.
Yeah, please.
Please go get a drink.
This is vodka. I haven't told Ted yet.
Yeah.